On day one of NFL free agency, the Packers made a couple of moves, one of which addressing the cornerback position in signing former Raiders cornerback Nate Hobbs. And after the signing, there was a lot of talk of what does Hobbs bring to the table for the Green Bay Packers? Are the Packers going to move on from Jair Alexander? Is Hobbs going to play on the outside, or is he going to play in the slot for the Packers? So I went back and watched a lot of film from Nate Hobbs over in Las Vegas, and I looked at multiple seasons where in 2022 he played boundary corner, and most recently in 2024 he played in the nickel. So in today's video, I'm going to go over and break down, show you guys some film from Nate Hobbs, and show you exactly what he's going to bring to the table for the Green Bay Packers and why I'm very intrigued by this signing. Now, when we talked about Hobbs in yesterday's video, a lot of people were wondering, what does this mean for Javon Bullard? Because when you look at Hobbs' 4-year career, the majority of his snaps were out of the nickel for that Las Vegas Raiders defense. But Nate Hobbs has versatility. That's the main thing we're going to go over in today's video, and show you the film of clips of him playing outside, clips of him playing inside, and why I think he can do both for the Green Bay Packers. And when you look at his profile and his size, he's listed like 6 foot 6'1" on every other source, but RAS has him at 5'11", because this is combine measurement. So yeah, sure, if he has cleats on, he's 6 foot, whatever. But he's 5'11", 196 pounds, 17 bench reps. This is coming out of the draft, so you know this might have changed a bit by now. But arm length, 32.5 inch arms. So he has plenty of arm length to play outside boundary corner in the NFL. 4.48 speed, so he has the speed to do so as well. It's not the fastest guy, but he has enough speed. He has great explosion, which is great to see. So a jump ball situation on the outside. He has a 40.5 inch vertical. He can go up there and either intercept it or bat the pass down. Broad jump, 11'3", so also a really good broad jump and good agility grades as well. And according to a source, it's already been said that one option would be Hobbs playing cornerback in the base defense or boundary corner and moving into the slot on passing downs. His position could be matchup based, whether it's covering a specific receiver or being closer to line of scrimmage against strong running games. I think this is perfectly worded, and it's exactly the outlook I also see for Nate Hobbs. I feel like on base defenses, he definitely has the ability to play outside. If we're in cover 3, he shows great technique in cover 3, which the Packers do run a lot, which I'll show you in the film. But he also has a lot of ability on the inside to attack running backs or even rush the passer. He's not afraid to hit. He has a ton of physicality, and it would be a little bit of a waste to just keep him on the outside. And that's why I think the Packers are going to use him as a versatile piece. And if they come out in a 3rd and 9 and they want to bring Nate Hobbs into the nickel over Javon Bullard, who kind of struggles in pure passing downs out of the nickel, or if they come out in dime, they want both Javon Bullard and Nate Hobbs in the slots, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Over his 4-year career, Hobbs had 2,403 snaps at cornerback. 30.8% of them were at boundary cornerback, the majority of them coming in 2022. And then, of course, the 69.2% came out of the slot. So again, he played majority slot over there in Las Vegas. But one thing that's very important to note, when he played boundary in 2022, he suffered a broken hand in week 5. And if you watch the tape, which I'll show you clips from it, prior to week 5, I thought he was playing very well at boundary cornerback. But after the broken hand, when he returned, I think it was week 12, week 13, his ability to press a receiver, get his hands on a receiver, which is a big part of his game, diminished, and that's why he started to struggle. Therefore, then the Raiders the next season, just moved him back into the nickel where he played his rookie season. And don't get me wrong, he's a phenomenal nickel player, and I think, he definitely could be a full-time nickel cornerback in the NFL, but I also believe he's a versatile piece, and that's how the Packers are going to use him, and he's very capable at playing boundary corner. Before that broken hand in week 5 playing boundary, now he did play some slot snaps week 1, so take that into effect as well into this rating, but he allowed a 83.6 quarterback rating in those first 5 weeks. He allowed 22 receptions on 32 targets, didn't allow a single touchdown, and had 2 pass breakups. All right, so now let's dive down into the film, and first I'm going to show you all the boundary film that I have. So this is going to be mainly from 2022, where he played majority boundary cornerback. So here in this clip against the Denver Broncos, the Raiders are in cover 3. We have Nate Hobbs down here at the boundary side of the field. The Raiders are in cover 3, so they have one high, and both of these corners are in deep thirds here. This is something the Packers defense under Jeff Hafley ran a lot in 2024, and what teams did to beat this coverage against the Packers, it specifically really started against Miami, then Detroit did it a bunch against us, is have a receiver against outside leverage cornerback, because they're in cover 3, so they should be outside leverage here, right? Nothing to the outside and behind you. They're going to have this receiver run a deep dig route to the inside leverage of this corner, because they have leverage behind the linebackers, and a lot of the times this was a wide open zone right here for offenses to attack against the Green Bay Packers, because Eric Stokes played on this side, and when you watch the film, cover 3 against a dig, this guy got toasted a ton on that route, even by tight ends. So letting this thing play through, you see how far outside leverage Nate Hobbs is. Cover 3, outside boundary cornerback to the boundary side. Courtland Sutton's going to come right off the ball and slightly attack his leverage to try to push Nate Hobbs more to the outside, which is what you should do as a receiver. But Nate Hobbs does a great job staying on his base here and then reading Courtland Sutton's eyes, hips, and shoulders, and pretty much attacking this route the moment Courtland Sutton breaks, and does an excellent job attacking through that football. And he has great technique. What I've watched from him on tape is his technique and his timing to punch the football out right when it arrives. He does that a lot in his film. And this is a route, like I said, a deep dig against cover 3. This is something that Eric Stokes struggled with heavily, and teams attacked it heavily. So it's really nice to see this rep here. And in cover 3 outside shade, it's not really Nate Hobbs' responsibility, but obviously you're kind of matching here. You have one receiver. There's no one else around you. You should match this and at least track this a bit. And that's exactly what he does, and breaks this pass up over the middle. A phenomenal play. Here on this play, it's a simple 9 route by this Denver Broncos wide receiver, and the Raiders are in cover 4. So we have 2 deep safeties, each of these cornerbacks covering their deep quarter. So we have 4 quarters here on the back side, and it's a tiny bit outside shade for Nate Hobbs here, and a simple 9 by this receiver. And Hobbs does a great job on this play, not only reading this wide receiver, and he really dictates that he's simply running a 9 route, but also reading the cornerback and flipping his hips at the perfect time, and then using his body to kind of shield this wide receiver and further push him out of bounds to really make this ball uncatchable. Now, it wasn't a great throw by Russell Wilson by any means. I'm pretty sure he was kind of just throwing it out of bounds because he had pressure in his face. But even if this was a throw on target by Russell Wilson, I don't really think it would have been catchable. So again, a great technique here by Nate Hobbs covering this 9 out of cover 4 zone on the outside. Here on this play, we have a disguise cover 6 look by the Raiders. So this safety is going to rotate to the middle zone. This safety is going to drop back, have this deep third, and then we have Nate Hobbs right here on this deep third, and this cornerback here is going to stay near the flat to the outside here. And again, it's going to be a deep dig by this wide receiver. And again, it's not necessarily Nate Hobbs' responsibility to track that to the middle. Some corners would pass this off to the safety, but a lot of times that deep dig is made to go underneath the safety and right over top these linebackers right into this open zone right here. And Nate Hobbs, again, just like the first clip, something that the Packers corner struggled with, specifically Eric Stokes last year, does an excellent job tracking this. And he's in press zone here. He's head up on the receiver, and he's not outside shade. So we'll let this run here. Nate Hobbs pre-snap backs up, so not press anymore. Again, he's opening his hips to the inside, keeping his back to the sideline because he has to cover the outside. He has to cover the sideline. That's his responsibility. And again, he does a great job watching the quarterback, but also watching the wide receiver here. You can see his eyes. He's staring at the quarterback to watch his eyes, but also at the same time watching the receiver's hips, because that's what you do. You watch a receiver's hips and they will dictate where they're going. And a great break on that route up the top there. The ball doesn't go to his side, but if it did, I think Nate Hobbs would have had a very similar result to that first clip where he broke through that football, got a hand in there, and broke that thing up. Here on this play, we're going to see his man-to-man on the outside. He's pretty much head up on this wide receiver. Again, it's going to be a 9 route by this wide receiver, man-to-man coverage. And as I said earlier, Hobbs does a great job at using his hands, using his physicality, getting hands on a wide receiver, and really dictating their route and not allowing them to really blow by him. So, we'll see here on this route, this deep 9, Nate Hobbs man-to-man coverage against this receiver, empty set, gets his hands on the receiver, then forces him out to that sideline. Now, again, the ball doesn't go that way because it's not open. Kyler Murray would not have a good time throwing that ball to the outside there. There's a very, very small window, so great technique, man coverage by Hobbs here. Here on this play, the Raiders are in cover 2, so here's Hobbs up at the top of the screen here. He's responsible for this flat zone. This corner's got this flat zone, and then you also have 2 deep safeties. And Hobbs does a great job here in zone coverage, read and react, watch the quarterback, play your zone. You know, you're going to have 2 players in your zone in this instance here. You'll see as this play runs, he has a tight end running a quick, curl stick route here. And then we also have, I think that's the running back or another tight end running to the flat. So Hobbs has 2 responsibilities here. He's got to be careful that, it's not just a quick, easy throw to this tight end, which that's exactly what Kyler Murray's looking at right now, but Hobbs is in the vicinity. So he checks off of that, gives a little pump fake, and then the moment he sees Kyler Murray's eyes move to this flat, Hobbs does a great job, read and react, and attack that flat, go up, make a tackle for a minimal gain there. Great job by Hobbs showing his ability as an outside cover 2 cornerback here. All right, so now we have some slot film. Like I said, Hobbs can definitely play both. A lot would argue he was better in the slot, which for Las Vegas, I agree, he was, but he can definitely play boundary like I just showed you. Here's a very impressive rep. Man-to-man coverage against none other than Ladd McConkey. This is here in 2024. We know how good Ladd was in 2024. One of the better upcoming route runners in the NFL. Already one of the better route runners in the NFL. And it's going to be a simple, quick slant. And Hobbs does a great job at staying on his base, reading this route, and then again, fighting through to the football that I showed you in other clips here. He does a really good job at that. So let's let this one run through. He slightly moves outside shade right before pre-snap here, and then moves back inside. And we have Ladd McConkey doing a little bit of an outside release and then simply cutting underneath. Maybe they think this seam here is going to kind of create a little bit of a pick. It's not timed too perfectly well. And great closing speed by Nate Hobbs to fight through this, really read when the ball's going to get to the receiver and then get that hand in there to break that thing up. Here's another rep out of the slot. We have, again, Nate Hobbs man-to-man coverage on the slot wide receiver. It's going to be another inside route by this receiver. And like I said earlier, and I keep repeating myself, using his hands, staying physical, and then timing. The perfect timing from Nate Hobbs here. So this receiver takes an inside release. Hobbs instantly gets his punch in, gets his hands on the wide receiver before this receiver can, get out of that, right, and get away from Nate Hobbs. Great physicality. I believe it might even be against a tight end here. And then I think it's actually Mike Williams. And then Hobbs fights through there. And again, the timing, perfect timing to fight through that ball, get into the receiver's chest with a punch out at the perfect time. Here we have Hobbs again in the nickel. His responsibility is going to be in this middle slot zone here. The Raiders are in zone. Their trips right, so Hobbs really has 2 receivers here. If one goes deep, obviously you're passed off to the safety, and if one stays shallow, Hobbs has to match that and kind of track that into the inside a little bit, and then pass off for the linebacker if it goes that far. And Hobbs does a great job at read and react. And one thing that is huge in the Jeff Hafley system, which he's talked about plenty of times, is read and react. So this is perfect by Hobbs here. He's got to split, pretty much apex both of these receivers and say, hey, I got to sit here and wait for one of these to stay short. And Hobbs does a great job at just reading Andy Dalton here, read and react, breaking down on this receiver, running a quick stick route, and then getting right into that at the right moment. Should have came up with an interception, and he knows it. Still just a great play on the football. Here's man-to-man coverage. We have Xavier Worthy coming out of the slot, and Hobbs is manned up on him. They actually just motioned Worthy from out wide into the backfield, and Hobbs is tracking him. So the Chiefs know that the Raiders are in man coverage at this point, which is exactly what they want. And they want a mismatch, but luckily the Raiders have Nate Hobbs and not a linebacker on the supposed running back here. And it's going to be an attempt at a pick play where these receivers kind of just wash out right here, muddy this situation up, and Xavier Worthy should sneak through right there for an easy touchdown, something that did get an easy touchdown against the Packers plenty in 2024, but it doesn't here with Nate Hobbs. He does a great job getting through this traffic, right? He's not getting picked too much by his own defenders here. Seeing this play develop, play recognition is huge for him, and then knowing this is going to be a flat pass to Xavier Worthy, and again, timing. You can't see it there too well, but his right hand comes right in at the perfect moment, right into the chest of Xavier Worthy, and punches that ball loose for an incomplete pass. Here on this play, it should be a pretty easy touchdown for Sam Fran. It's going to be a play action to the right here, where Brock Purdy play action and then boots back to this side. And we have, I think it's Juwan Jennings on a post route, or a corner route, excuse me. And then we have Brandon Ayuk kind of floating and then screaming across, right? Right when that play action happens, scream across. The Raiders are in man coverage. Ideally, this should beat man coverage, and Ayuk should walk in for a touchdown. But Nate Hobbs here on the outside, man coverage, does an excellent job at tracking this crosser here on Ayuk. And Hobbs is outside leverage, and he has to also, again, make sure he doesn't get picked by his own defenders here, because they're playing run. We also have a tight end out here. We have Kittle. We have McCaffrey. These linebackers have to flow with this play, and that's why this is supposed to get open. You see the timing. You see Ayuk underneath all these linebackers. He's supposed to get lost in transition here, where Hobbs is kind of just doing nothing, but he does a great job at following his man, seeing this play recognition, not, losing his responsibility, and then tracking down low to Ayuk. And he, at this point, he's still a decent amount of separation. Like, Ayuk should be able to catch this ball in stride. Purdy should probably put it more outside. But like I said earlier, and keep saying, timing, bats that thing out at the perfect moment, gets his hand into the center chest of Ayuk, incomplete pass yet again. Now, the remaining plays that I have are all run defense or pass rush or stopping a screen, because one thing that I've noticed with Nate Hobbs is this guy does not shy away from contact. He's a very willing tackler. Although he does have a slight bit of a missed tackle issue, his career missed tackle percentage is at 15.7%, which is pretty high. It's not for a lack of not wanting to tackle. It's not like you watch a cornerback out there give very minimal effort and you're like, that's a missed tackle. Like, what are you doing out there? No, Nate Hobbs loves contact. He loves to attempt to tackle, and he has no problem filling a running lane and making a tackle. As you see, you're coming out of the slot, comes right through, makes the tackle on number 6 of the Panthers here. Here's another one. I think this is back in 2022. This might even be Austin Eckler. They play the Chargers obviously twice a year, so I kind of forget what year. Yeah, it is Austin Eckler. It's going to be a stretch to the right. We have Nate Hobbs here in the slot, and he does an excellent job fighting through the block of that right tackle. Tremendous bend, kind of getting low there, getting around that tackle, and then making a perfect technique wrap-up tackle on Austin Eckler for a loss in the backfield. Here's yet another run. It's going to be a handoff left out of shotgun. Nate Hobbs in the slot on this side. Does an excellent job diagnosing this. Seems like it could be an RPO with this receiver kind of running a bubble here, but Hobbs is watching the quarterback, watching what's happening with this football. And the moment he sees it's a handoff, he attacks down low, realizes Eckler's kicking it outside. I have no idea what this receiver's doing. I'm sure he should be blocking. And Nate Hobbs, again, fights to that stiff arm, wrap-up tackler, very sound tackle there. On this one, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to run a screen, and play recognition is huge for Hobbs. It's very clear he watched this in tape the prior, week, and noticed the set with that motion and what it's going to be. It's going to be a quick screen by Travis Kelce. You see his hand kind of raised there. I think he's probably telling his guy behind him, hey, this is probably a screen coming. And the moment this ball snapped and all he sees is a half step back by Kelce, Hobbs is attacking this thing. This reminds me a lot of, Jair Alexander attacking a screen. And Hobbs has 2 blockers in front of him. And again, he loves physicality, and he's not scared of it. So he fights through this blocker. I think it might be even Noah Gray. It's a blocking tight end, and does a great job at just out-muscling this tight end and kind of throwing him to the right, which in turn kind of moves this blocker also out of the way, and gets down low and tackles Travis Kelce for a gain of nothing. This final play is going to be a nickel corner blitz by Nate Hobbs. Does a great job kind of just walking up pre-snap, kind of sitting here like, okay, I'm going to cover this flat. I'm pressing. Doesn't really sell that he's going to be blitzing. This left tackle, in terms of his protection, is right on that left end. We also have a linebacker right in the A gap. Center's likely marking him, right? We have a man for a man for a man, and the running back's on the wrong side. So if the running back was over this side, this probably wouldn't work as well. So it's a perfectly timed blitz by the Raiders, but also well executed by Nate Hobbs, and has a ton of burst right off this snap. One thing that's very clear with Nate Hobbs, he does a great job at just attacking the football. Great burst, and I think he's, runs quicker than a 4.48 in my opinion. As you see here, he's kind of just walking up. Hey, I'm going to press. We got trips left. Makes sense in a normal sense. Right when that ball snapped, you see Hobbs, the burst off this line of scrimmage. This tackle's blocking. There's a man for everyone except for Nate Hobbs. It's a perfectly timed blitz here, and this running back is way too late to assess the situation, and it's an easy sack for Nate Hobbs. This is something that obviously the Packers will utilize him for. They do it a lot with Keyshawn Nixon, and now they have another piece to do it with Nate Hobbs. So that's all the film I have to break down for you guys from Nate Hobbs. I hope I showed you the type of player he could be for the Green Bay Packers. I really, really like this signing because it's a versatile piece that in base defenses, this guy can play outside, cover 2, cover 3, even man-to-man if we need him to, and do a good job at it, and then also move to the inside or cover up some slot receivers, some premier slot receivers in the NFL, where Javon Bullard really struggled with that last year. You know, when I showed you that crosser play to Brandon Ayuk, that's something Javon Bullard would not do well, at least in 2024. But Nate Hobbs has a good track record at man-to-man coverage out of the slot. He remains physical, gets his hands on the receiver, and again, great timing to break out a potential pass. Also, for anyone that was saying, oh my God, what an overpay when the Packers signed Nate Hobbs, because you're just looking at the APY, the official contract just came out, and Nate Hobbs literally will only account for 2% of the Packers salary cap in 2024, a cap hit of just under $6 million. This is why you wait for it to come out, and this is also why you wait and look at the guarantees rather than just the APY. Still waiting on Aaron Banks' contract. When that comes out, I'll update you guys with the new salary cap number for the Packers. But I really appreciate you guys coming by to the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this sort of video, leave a like down below. Go click subscribe to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers, and a reminder to check out BetUS and use code YouTube150 at sign up. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.